Hey kids, welcome back to the show. What I'm going to show you today is how to turn this list that we're looking at right now, something that you might get in an email from a supervisor saying, I need you to send this email out to all of these people. But he hasn't made our job very easy. He's added numbers to the thing, and we've got names in there that we don't need. We want to isolate just the email addresses, and on top of that, we're going to send an email using this, so we need them all to be separated by semicolons. Now, usually I would just show you how to do this, but for this video I wanted to show you kind of how I would have done it when I was first learning how to use Power Query, and then I'll show you the way I would do it now. Just sort of an optimized version, because when you start using Power Query, you have a lot of extra steps that you don't really need. So let's jump in and see how to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just click in anywhere where the data is, and I'm going to load it up into Power Query. I'm going to do that right now by hitting Alt-A-P-T. Just a little keyboard shortcut. I don't have any headers. And there we go. We're loaded up into Power Query. I'm going to take this change type step off. And the first thing I want to do looking at this is, and I know this is a little hard to see, but if you look at the email addresses, I want to split by space delimiters. And we don't have the same number of space delimiters for each name. Some people have a middle initial, some don't. Some have the second, so you can't do it by number of spaces. But luckily, Power Query, you can do it by the rightmost delimiter. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to say split by delimiter. And we're going to choose space and the rightmost. Click OK. Get rid of this change type. All right. So then I would just remove this column because we don't need it anymore. And there we go. We're getting close. So from this point, I would probably... Oh, right. So I need a way to group this together. So I'm just going to add a custom column. And it's just going to have the number 1 here. It really doesn't matter what we put there, as long as it's all the same. So there we've got our 1s. Now I'm going to go back and group this using that custom column that we just made. And I'm going to group it on that custom column. And then I'm going to say don't aggregate, just do all rows. And now everything's loaded up into a table. So there it is. Now I would do add a column. And this is going to be table.column. And we're going to be looking at the count column. And if we look at our little table preview here, what we're trying to extract from there is column 1.2. So in parentheses, I'm going to say column 1.2. And then just a closing parenthesis. Click OK. There we go. Now if we look, it's the same thing really, but now we've converted it into a list. And now I can just click this little button here and say extract values. If I said expand to new rows, it would look just like the preview. But extract values, it lets me choose a delimiter. We're going to use the semicolon. Click OK. Then remove the columns that I don't need. And now I could just load this up. It would work as a... It works that way. We've gotten what we want to get out of it. But if we look at all these steps that we had to take to get there. Unnecessary steps. We're adding columns, we're removing columns, and we haven't even, gotten into renaming columns. Like, it's just a lot of unnecessary stuff here. So let's see how I would do it now. I'm going to just click on this split, actually on this removed columns. I'm going to say delete until end. Yes, delete. Okay, so everything would be the same up until this point. All I've done is load it up and split by delimiter. Now, if I just turn this into a list, Like, we'll look at here's our code. Okay. So if I just turn this into a list, we can see what it's actually doing. So I'm going to convert to a list. And let's look at how it did that. So basically all it did was add this to the end of the step. So it's basically saying we're going to tack on the column that we want to extract out of the table to the end of the entire step. That way it will isolate that column and simultaneously turn it into a list. So let's see how that happens. I'm going to delete that step. And the column that we're trying to isolate is column 1.2. So I'm just going to copy that here. And then at the very end of this step, I'm going to do an open square bracket, paste that in, and hit enter. Now you can see it's isolated the column that we wanted, and it's turned it into a list. You can see here it says list instead of table. Now all I have to do is wrap this entire thing in one more function. It's going to be text.combine. Text.combine takes two arguments. One is the list and the other is the delimiter that you want to use to separate each value. We're going to use a semicolon. And there we go. So now if we go and look at the code, we've got it down to just 2 lines of code. And we didn't have all that unnecessary fluff. We got rid of all the fat. So yeah, now we can just load this up. And there we go. We've got our list of email addresses that have gotten rid of all the stuff that we didn't need. It's converted them into one long string that's separated by semicolons, and we can just copy and paste this into an email and be done with our work for the day. So I will, in the description of this, I'll put a link to a Google Drive of this exact Excel file. So if you want to open it up and see how the code looks in there, you'll be able to get it through the description. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.